Yo, what's up, guys? It's Jackham. This is a garage public service announcement. This is just going to be hopefully a super quick video. This is so for those that are unaware, I do kind of one-to-one Ableton tuition. Not just for garage, it's for kind of all kinds of bass music, really. But this is an issue specific to kind of people trying to make garage that I see come up all the time, and it's to do with swing, right? And so I just thought I'd make a little video on the subject, right? So yeah, we're going to be talking about swing. Now there's a couple, I hesitate to call them rules because obviously music is all about learning rules and breaking those rules, you know. And I'm a big advocate that you know, there are no set rules and there's a million different ways to do certain things, but this is a pretty common issue that I keep seeing kind of cropping up in maybe in people's music that are making garage. Maybe they've just started trying to make it and maybe they're experimenting with it, right? And it's all about swing. Okay, so I'm going to play you two quick examples of essentially the exact same drum loop, and I want you to just pay close attention to each. So this is the first example. Oops. Some nice swinging garage drums. Now let's look at this example over here. Again, first one. Second. Can you hear the difference? Hopefully you should be able to hear the difference. The difference between these two drum loops is that in the first example, every kind of percussive element is swung to the exact same value, right? They're all swung to this groove here in Ableton's Logic 1665. Okay, so everything is swung the exact same. In this second example, everything but the kick is swung. So the kick has no swing on it, and the hi-hats and stuff do have the swing on. And what you can hopefully hear is this kind of, in this example over here, this disruption to the kind of general groove and flow of the track. Especially here on this double kick and here on this kind of syncopated kick. This is something I hear all the time in kind of maybe more beginner to intermediate level producers, I suppose you could say. But using a swing on some elements, but not using it on other elements. Now this sticks out like a sore thumb to me every time I hear this kind of thing happen in a tune. It's really important, guys, that if you're kind of using a swing, as a general rule, everything in your track that's going to end up landing on a 16th note needs to be using that exact same swing value. Okay, because otherwise it can just result in this really jarring sound. Now, exceptions to the rule would be if you kind of, and again I even hesitate to talk about this, but exceptions to the rule, you know, if you've been using swing for a long time and you've really got your head around it and you want to make some really slight micro shifts in time, and we're talking about really small shifts, you know, like literally microseconds or sample shifts, then that's all right. But you have to be really careful and really listen and make sure that the groove is kind of unaffected, because it's weird. We think about swing, right, as almost like people think about swing as humanizing a beat, right? Because we're creating these differences in timing of the 16th note. You know, like you can see here, this is the swing visualized. If it was completely straight, the swing would look like this. Sorry, not the swing, but if it was completely straight, this is what the 16th would look like. So we think about swing as like that we're humanising the pattern because we're shifting the 16th notes kind of out of time as to where they would normally land on the grid. However, we're not really humanising anything at all, because when you look at the swung 16ths there at the top, you can see that every time the kind of second 16th happens, every other 16th is swung to is staggered, is made later by the exact same amount every time. So it's not really humanized at all. It's still robotic, because there's basically no errors. There's no errors in where these land in time. You know that, and that is kind of what gives two-step garage its feeling. It's that it's robotically swung. You know. Now, you listen to people like MJ Cole and that, and it doesn't sound robotic. It sounds incredibly natural and flows super well, because I think he swings everything by hand, I believe. But what my point is that, you know, until you've really got like a super solid grasp on swing, and making a groove super tight, it's always better to just play it safe and have everything abide by that swing that you've set, you know, by a set swing. And you can kind of, if you want to go in after that and zoom right in and make some tiny little shifts left and right just to then humanize that swing, that's okay. But, you know, generally everything needs to be kind of swinging the same amount. And this will solve a lot of people's kind of issues, I think, where they're trying to use swing, but it doesn't sound right. This is often why, because they're only swinging, say, half of the drums, or they've swung all the drums, but they might have a percussive bass pattern in there, or they might have a percussive kind of synth stab or vocal chops, and they've not swung those vocal chops. So anything that's percussive, anything that lands on the 16th, should be kind of swung the same way. Hopefully that makes sense. And yeah, big up.